Welcome to the Parody, where we tally up the victims in life and our media. I'm Chelsea Rose, and today we're stepping into actual game territory, Bad Things, released just a few months ago in 2025. Well, basically half my input are movies made using the Roblox game engine, whether it be a war film about guest segregation that held the record at the very start of the channel, a gripping cinematic universe that's conquered the Parody's leaderboard 3 separate times, or my own bizarre screen recordings that have also held the record twice. This is the first time we've actually covered one of Roblox's own games on the Parody. Bad Things is a psychological horror game about two friends that just want to make their own Roblox game, man. However, their own personal issues rip them apart in ways that end up severely damaging the relationship and themselves. It's split up into 16 separate scenes, some of which were added due to updates to fully wrap up the game's plot. While I don't know how people would have thought about Ivan and Andrew's game, the people that have played this game seem to love it, and so do I. You get sucked into the perspective of Ivan as he unsuccessfully writes scenes into their game that Andrew didn't need there, and, along the way, gets stuck in some intense mind hallways and some issues in the family. It's an experience that, while in the first half is kind of a nice story about development, becomes dreadful as the true horror of Ivan's mind kicks in. And yes, I did actually play the game in preparation for this video, but didn't get past scene 15. I was going to use my own screen recording for this parody, but instead opted to use a 2.5 hour walkthrough from the CAC Paris EN that still has the entire game in it, so don't worry. The time codes I'll be using for this parody will match up with that walkthrough, so if your personal time codes are different, that's why. This game is just something you don't really see on Roblox anymore. It has clear passion from a dedicated developer that, while not perfect, is able to wield the imperfections the characters have to beautiful effect. The game is sadly super underrated, which is a shame, because this is a really excellent game. I recommend you pause right now to go play the game. It's only 2 to 3 hours long, so you'll be able to get through it relatively quickly. How many kills will these bad things develop for Ivan and Andrew's game? Let's find out and get to the kills. The game begins inside a base field with a few warnings. After jumping up some hills, you make all sorts of horrifying twists and turns until you end up in the hallway of an apartment complex. Entering Jesse Eisenberg's apartment, the POV walks over to a room that doesn't have him grinding World of Warcraft. Instead, it's you asking him to show us a title card. Into the actual story of the game, a new POV shows us the perspective of Ivan, who wants to help his friend Andrew with his pretty sweet Roblox game. Andrew's working on the game himself, so Ivan figures that he could need some help with the game's biggest problem, its writing. He heads over to his room to grab the script and non-object Terror magazine before giving it over to Andrew. He didn't really need the help in his own eyes, but considering that it kind of deflates Ivan, he tells him to go get his gift that's all the way down in the parking lot. It's a long walk, but we can't help but wonder what that glowing red door is. The gift appears to be a plant, and he's rightfully confused. However, it's just there to help with decoration. Sadly, he can't throw it out of any windows. Scene 3 takes us into the first glimpse of the game in a game these two are working on. It's on this really foggy autumn archipelago, and it's more like an obby than anything. After conquering this giant pillar, the character lands on another island with a paper on it. Made by Andrew? No, it's made by us both. The fuck are you talking about, man? Everything gets dark, and going back to the cabin sends us to scene 4, another scene focusing on Ivan and Andrew. Instead of his apartment, we're in Andrew's house for the only time. Can't blame the game for sending us here. Look at these Roblox parody posters. Lots of progress is progressing on the game, but we currently have to witness Andrew storing mysterious potted food for eternity. Maybe that's because he's short on money, and the game is his only source of income. He'll have to move soon, but Ivan won't stop doing favors to him, like getting a plant he needs that's located in his massive backyard. Good God, maybe that's why he's low on money. That backyard isn't cheap. It leads to this beautiful waterfall with a rock hill leading Ivan to both the rosemary and the script? Uh-oh, Andrew's got some explaining to do. Ivan confronts him as soon as he gets back in the house, and Andrew defends his choice to put the script somewhere it can get wet by telling him that he doesn't need any help again. He wants everything from the game, just so he doesn't have to move back in with its parents that he's extremely terrified of. Ivan understands and helps him with the procedures of cooking up some dinner. The next scene is of the game again, and it follows a farmer in the middle of a very perilous storm. To make sure his hard-earned work doesn't go away, he fixes up his farm like this was Black Ops 2 Zombies or some shit. He also fuels up his generator because he's been added to Dead by Daylight. It tires him, so he heads to bed, but wakes up in the middle of the storm to the sounds of figures in his house. Hey, dude, maybe turn on your TV. You'll find them so easily. We see as his door opens, and a very slow-moving figure moves from behind the wall in a very terrifying manner, as he can't move the character at all. It cuts off before anything is confirmed, but seeing as how we never revisit the farmer, I'll go ahead and add him to the count. You never come back from super scary shadow figures like that. Back in the apartment, the guy who's playing has a really tough time figuring out what to do before stumbling into Ivan Drew, which is certainly already a ship. Small fandoms always gotta have one. Seeing as how he's been kicked out of the house and certainly doesn't want to move back in with his parents, Andrew's moved in with Ivan for a little bit to soften the blow. All the boxes with very important items are moved inside, but as Ivan discovers, there's some questionable inclusions among the bunch. Both of them go up to the rooftop to have a deep personal conversation. It's a highlight of the game's more straightforward first half, showing the genuine friendship between the two that, while not perfect, is one with like 90% respect. Game progress is going as swimmingly as ever, and it seems like it may even be released by the end of the year. Ivan still wants to help with the game though, because he just wants to help his friend. Andrew still has a bit of negativity towards the idea, but that's more so from a place of passion for working on the game by himself for so long. He's not burnt out, and that's enough for him. It certainly is an improvement from his earlier days, where he says that he used to quote-unquote fight and skip class for the hell of it. However, that seemingly was the main thing of making games that Roblox came from, back when it was much more just do whatever. That resulted in a very positive message he got that made him cry for hours, and that's why he's pursuing developing for Roblox. Ivan goes down to get nothing, and when he comes back, Andrew asks him about his parents. Unlike Andrew's very mysterious parents, Ivan had the most normal parents of all time, although his dad was a firefighter. That was the strangest part. However, something happened to him one day. He did the heroic firefighter thing of running into a burning building to rescue someone inside. However, something high above him snapped at the worst time possible, and with Final Destination levels of timing, crushed his dad into an unrecognizable mess below it. Since we don't see anything about it yet, I won't add him to the count. When the funeral came, Ivan accidentally saw the aftermath of the incident, since the casket was open at a closed casket funeral. And now that's how he sees his perfectly fine and cool dad. That's what he gets for helping people, he guesses. Andrew goes down to unpack another scene from the game where we're in a hospital with low-res stretched out pictures of random people. Way to call me out, asshole. Our player guy has his clip detector on him, which means he can escape his appointment with Dr. Finestone. Outside, more clips lead us underneath the actual map, across strange platforms, and onto a thing we have to fall over and over again. That leads to a very claustrophobic hallway, which won't be the last, and up a ladder to Ivan's elevator? Okay. Down his hall, the POV gets forced into the roof access door, where a strange figure lets us into the aftermath of an argument between Ivan and Andrew. It, thankfully, ended well, and they both head inside where Ivan pours tons of praise on him for being a calm guy. The guy even pulls out a stair metaphor of Andrew basically at the tippy top of the A-list. Just like Bill Murray. Unlike Bill, Ivan's way below that with a broken leg. Ivan claims to hear something, even though when I played, I didn't hear shit. He goes into the hall to check, but the elevator has made way for a laboratory's halls by the looks of it. There's even a testing room with 4 buttons in it. The first button spawns a noob, the second hangs him up, and the third closes off all the lights and lets a creature of some kind enter. Whatever it is, we hear violence and screaming from the noob. A minute later, the 4th button can be pressed and we see the subject in a condition that'll make him dead in Ivan's mind and dead enough for the count. Ivan sees the light and walks into it to see Andrew on the couch. Apparently, all of that was just a whack-ass vision he had right in front of him. Ivan tells Andrew that it's okay to wish that he himself isn't okay and runs off to the ladder in the bathroom because he's feeling sick. It leads him to the same halls with some backrooms like mazes. Hey, locker nets are reserved for later, gosh! He gets through the pillar of ruins and through more trapdoors throw up a huge flight of stairs that leads him to a button. Disobeying the games of the same name, he presses it, which causes danger to rise from the dark. He finally gets time for locker naps, and aside from the creepy wall art, you discover that the danger is a lie. So is escape. Oh, and I'm being shit out. Another door opens, leading Ivan through some mesmerizing white cube halls over to a clone of himself, letting us see what Ivan looks like a fool for the first time since that. It's a bizarre him, though, as he has a sharp-looking chisel. He does confirm the lack of danger in his mind, and says that they're still in the actual apartment bathroom. Ivan says that he's been feeling inadequate about himself, and that may be because Andrew has been so positive about Ivan's additions to the project. There's a bit of evidence to go with that, considering that all the parts of the game we've seen so far have been vastly different. But maybe he needs some convincing, because if both of them could have the same workload, Andrew could still be successful and Ivan could, still be alive. With the listening session complete, Ivan picks up the chisel and heads into the room he entered his hellscape from. He carves a freaking sweet statue, but the work is put away as he has to take it down, reflecting his contributions to the game. It leads him down a hole, turning him into the test subject from 10 minutes ago. I won't add him since it's a direct recycling of a kill we just saw happen. Scene 9, otherwise known as Sailor, is probably my favorite scene of the game. It's the biggest turning point for reasons you'll soon see. It's also very repetitive, but I think the end result is worth it. The sailor we play as just wants to get home, so it's the big task we're faced with. Help him get some coal to his furnace so the ship can keep chugging along. Or, some other source of fuel. After the first haul, he says the flames are a very comforting change of pace from the blue-gray skies outside. There's also a saw here. Can't possibly be important, right? That one pile of coal was the last on the ship, so we're gonna have to burn down the Toy Story series and get some woody delights. A crate does the trick, so the sailor can tell us another exciting anecdote. Apparently, they used to put uranium in glassware. There's also cases of radium on what's basically everyday items too. The fire goes out, so the ladder to the top of the ship is the next biggest thing. The sailor comes back with some things about lethal commonalities. I already knew about asbestos and lead. We should probably tell Mickey, though. However, both of us never knew about Nagito-branded poison. Such a drawn-out, peaceful, yet disturbing sequence of this is very reminiscent of some of the things I've seen out of mouthwashing. That makes sense, since that was one of the inspirations for the creator, that Cactus Man, who posted the game's entire soundtrack onto his YouTube channel. That means there's a chance he'll end up watching his video. If so, what's up? The next piece of wood cuts for the ship itself. Therefore, it's unlikely that we'll make it home before some turkeys stop themselves from being quite delectable feasts.
We're going back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu. That's right. We're going back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu.
An entire section gets cut off for fuel usage, and since it was the last piece of wood left, that means there's only one route the sailor can go down. Since the next thing would be flesh, one of his arms becomes the subject of a saw. Hey, look at it this way, you can replace it with one of his pegs. Yeah, like Seamus from Family Guy. I guess the cost of getting home are an arm and a leg, since that's next on the chopping block. The lack of one of his legs sends him really off balance, but there's no time left before the fire goes back out. What started out as beautiful has turned horrific, as our sailor has amputated throughout the 4 limbs he has. Putting it into the fireplace, he reminisces about the time he spent with the player, even if things ended gruesomely. Even without his legs, he still wants to take a look at an explorer's own reliable, the stars. It makes both the player and the sailor take a little pause to comprehend the sheer beauty up in the sky. That's what I mean. The scene, while having its share of disturbing parts, still manages to distract us with a gorgeous sight. Since there's only one source of fuel left, why not use it up right now? On his way there, the sailor has one more thing to say. It's revealed that he's standing for Andrew, venting out his frustrations about Ivan carving a legacy out of his own game, which is why he erased his parts of the game, so it could be his own passion project. Then the sailor slowly crawls into the fire, giving us another addition to the count while doubling as a final statement to Ivan. He's out. Such things are proven after we play as Smurf Ivan. He turns on the TV and wakes up Andrew on Christmas Eve. After explaining why he wanted to help his friend out so much, Andrew confronts him about the additions to the game that belongs to him. It's not anything about the quality of his work, but more so that Andrew just wants to work on the game by himself and himself only. Oh, and also he might want a bit of Ivan's writing talent. He looks away from his friend, who apparently doesn't care about the work he put in for free. He lashes out at Andrew, sorry for helping him get a place, working on a game, and seemingly everything else in between. He realizes what he's done and begins to apologize, and Andrew gives him a Christmas present. Oh, it's 2 months too early. Are you sure about— And he's moving out. He's found a place and he surely couldn't give more of a fuck about it. Ivan needs some time to think about these bad things. and heads through a spiral of doors that's for sure something out of mouthwashing. He goes down to the main entrance, but only finds that it's the entrance to the church, and thus his dad's funeral. He opens the casket to find a black void covered in all sorts of white apparitions. With this visual depiction of his dad in the funeral, I'll now decide to slap Ivan's father onto the count. He had to carry the heavy burden of concrete and steel. All the advice that the spirit of his dad has is just this one thing: make an impact on the world in any way, shape, or form. Ivan doesn't know what to make of that, and the heavenly text tells us some hellish instructions. Get the axe? The fuck? Ivan goes through of trying to get it, but it's no use. Andrew's gone and we get gritted to some more hobbies. God, I remember when those were actually good! After getting through that, a bridge and the second source of claustrophobic terror, a giant Mario 64 staircase is given as a reward. You get the option to skip the scene, and that's what this guy does. However, I decided to go up the staircase, and in the interest of telling you what happens, here you go. The game gives you a jar of fireflies, and you get to make a name for yourself. Only inside this game scene. Since Andrew apparently forgot all his stuff in the apartment, Ivan has to move it all over to the front door. However, as he does, a strange figure keeps on appearing around the halls. When he gets to the last one, it flies towards him, sending him to a maze full of plants. After getting through, he enters the front door to a dinner with his mother and Andrew. It's a whole lot of weird stuff, but this is a long conversation, so bear with me as I get through it. Ivan distracts his mother after an awkward start with a burning claim. Then Andrew asks him about his dad again, suggesting that this is just something in his mind, as we saw the scene play out earlier on the rooftop. She comes back with the food, and through Ivan, figures out what a Roblox is. Oh, I know, something I can't play. What I did for this video. Crap. The table gets into semantics about whether or not Roblox games can be considered art. I'm also drawing a blank. However, while I'm drawing blanks, the mother over here is just saying it because it's for kids. So is it really art? Even then, the games still make communities, and those communities don't seem to care that they're just copies of real ones, because they're free! That just makes most of Roblox to Ivan unleashed, and Ouroboros of Control-C, Control-V. Did he say inbred? Anyways, y'all better stop talking about Ivan's good writing and get to eating, because the foods look like it's gonna add the list that Ivan read about Andrew's habits about not letting him help with the game. The food's getting cold hearing all this. His dad gets there just in time to listen to Andrew dig at Ivan for just being a lousy copier, taking from other things and putting it into his own. For never letting go, both the mother and ex-friend disappear, which leaves Ivan to confront the spirit of his dad, apologizing for letting everybody down in the pursuit of doing the game. Like the game's been saying, I guess that's what he gets for helping people. With all his frustrations vented out to his dad, he makes steps towards an axe that leads him onto a set of stairs. At the end of that path is Andrew, and Ivan swings an axe into him and publishes the game. We see at multiple hints after that Andrew is actually dead, but since he's last seen in C14 alive, I'll wait a little bit to count him. For now, we have to play as Andrew for a change in scene 13, where a very dark cave leads to a snowy outside and a body, but since it looks too much like Andrew and he's still alive, I will add it to the count. Besides, Ivan published this shit. He could just put it in there as a frustration over Andrew leaving. Also, Andrew confirms it as him, and like I said for a third time in very short succession, is not dead. You're not me. Hi, diddly ho. Weird. The game cuts to static like it's Riddle School, and we finally see what Andrew is actually doing the entire time. There's lots of pillars and platforms and buttons around that elevate us down to something more along the lines of what Ivan would make, according to Andrew. That's literally just a natural disaster survival sky tower. This is definitely something Andrew wouldn't credit himself for making. It leads to a street and path with even more copy and pasted assets, the exact thing Ivan was complaining about in scene 12. Now we're just inside sword fights on the heights for a few minutes. There's a few familiar things if you kept up with whatever's going on with that game, and it only ends when Game Andrew gets through another mouthwashing call. He gets to a portal platform with a big mass of stuff at the top. Apparently, Andrew put all this stuff together. That makes sense considering Ivan's complaints. He talks about how his mind made sure he suffered the same abuse Ivan had. That's probably why there's abuse warnings in the opening. and we never really see most of it, it's implied. I think that probably has something to do with why Andrew hates his parents, because even though Ivan's father keeps on manifesting in his mind as a guy that leads him down the wrong path, his mother seemed pretty nice when we got to know her for a few minutes. Andrew made this as a sort of gift to Ivan, but decided that he never wanted him to see it in the first place because of the little good it would bring. However, Ivan did see it, because he had to play in order to confirm that it was good enough to publish. Ivan spams the chat to get Andrew to come back, and one message doesn't provide an incentive. I published the game. Ivan falls through a mouthwashing dropper before ending up back in his red-lit room. His apartment is a total mess after the falling out with Andrew, but he still has that wilted plant to throw out, the final living remnant of Andrew. He throws it into the dumpster downstairs and heads back into the elevator, only to get mugged by Andrew, furious that Ivan will publish his passion project. He tries coming up with excuses, but especially after Andrew thought he would kill him, all of those are thrown out the window. He tells him about the game he'd sent him and heads out, leaving Ivan in his past forever. We already saw one of those games, but the final game scene provides Ivan with the game's biggest challenge. After crawling through multiple tight spaces and running through halls, the POV is led to a closed room with a walkie-talkie saying some pretty concerning things. And this right here is where I had to quit. I'm sorry, but I just didn't figure out what to do, and thus never got to the game's final scene. What you were apparently supposed to do was lock Ivan's thing from scene 12 behind the door, but the walkthrough doesn't do that, and instead gets captured by the apparition and sends him to the game's final scene. It starts outside of Andrew's old house with Ivan in his car. Andrew gets out of the house and breaks down in tears in the car, but it'll be okay soon. They'll get out of this. In Ivan's apartment, he opens the door to get outside and gets told to sprint into the elevator that sends him into a sequence of falling halls. He falls off hard into a hall with lockers and eventually into a room with something in the dark. However, the lights are turned on. We don't see anything except for a door that leads to Ivan's actual hall. His room looks just as bad as ever. When we get to his room, he only finds a staircase that leads him to pick up an axe to cut through some vines. It leads to the farmer game scene where a new hole in the barn leads to what the fuck is that? Is that a shadow figure of Gaster's face Fortnite emoting? I mean, sure, whatever. We really needed that levity. It makes us run into the house to ineffectively lock the doors and pick up a bucket. Filled with water, the goal is to put out the fire to get a key to get absolutely nothing from the closet. Except another key, but I already had one of those. Come on. The game actually makes you run outside from the sweatiest superhero skin ever to cut through more vines into, great, a maze. Navigating through it gives us more vines to slice through, and once you reach the end, another cut to the dad funeral church is made, and we thankfully get rid of the grittying Juice WRLD skin. He talks to his closed casket dad one last time, told to never give up, and is asked the age-old question about dead bodies. Dude, he's seriously messed up by now, so he goes to find a dead body that isn't his dad's. Ivan has to cut through another maze, more back rooms even than last time, but has to hide behind boxes to see someone shut off the power. Rude. To the fiery inferno we go! The task is to do this one random thing before we figure out the true meaning of asking us for a favor. Following the blood trails aren't enough, as we're told to stop moving many times. I won't be adding these Ivans to the count, they're just vague visions of the guy himself. Technically, that would also apply to the game victims and that noob test subject, but who cares? This headache finally ends before Ivan sees another massive headache. Andrew is seen in an actual scene with the axe wound, and since he's never seen again after this, I'll finally add him to the count. Ivan takes the axe out of his really detailed wound and heads into the elevator behind him. It leads him to multiple sets of paths featuring elevators, which are soon connected to segments of the game Ivan wrote in. That eventually stops when a right side up and upside down version of Ivan's apartment complex appears. In his apartment, things are the same, except it's a little less messy. In his room, a floating green head is just floating there, but that serves as an interactive element to rotate the room to progress further. Back into the elevator, it sends us to a really weird staircase section where the heads rotate the entire structure in the sky to progress Ivan slightly further enough to his main goal, yet another elevator. That one sends us to the very first part of the game we saw a whole 2 hours ago. The cabin instead sends us over to Andrew's old house where he fesses up his misdoings to his now enemy. He doesn't have to forgive him, but he does want Andrew to remember all the friendship meant to him and the game they made together, even if Ivan's contributions were significantly scrapped in the process. Andrew, forgets him. Yay? You're repeating that a lot, man. Slow it down. Red static fades over to the one thing in Ivan's mind that may have influenced the hallucinations the entire game is featured. Nicknamed the Tumor, he's a voice-active fellow, and tells Ivan that they both wouldn't be there if he hadn't made such awful mistakes. He did, so that's why he tells him to fix up his mess. Ivan doesn't believe that he made the decision to kill Andrew himself. Instead, he chalks it up to the Tumor. I'll actually side with him on this one. Ivan in the earlier scenes was a much more measured guy. Sure, he had his problems, but once the hallucinations started over around the middle, things slowly got worse for him until both Ivan and Andrew snapped. The Tumor may have been there the entire time, yes, but I believe that's what the bizarre Ivan represented back in Scene 8. The first scene with such visions, and the first indication that Ivan and Andrew's friendship was gonna fall off sometime soon. It keeps on going at Ivan until it sparks a sentence that makes Ivan go further into profuse apologizing. Make a name for yourself. That's seemingly Ivan's only option now, as he's become malignant like a tumor. Ivan wakes up in his apartment, the entire scene basically being one big grand blanking out in the middle of his kitchen. I'm still gonna put Andrew on the count though, as the image stuck with Ivan long enough for it to reappear in a big way during the vision. Walking out of his apartment, the tumor's words, as well as the suggestion in his mind from his dead dad, gets to him. He walks up the endless stairs of the roof access with only one message relayed the entire time. Make a name for yourself. He gets up there and probably thinks about his moment with Andrew in Scene 6 for a second. The last time they felt like normal friends. He heads to the edge of the roof and the game ends with Ivan having the most momentous fall off of all time, hitting the ground just as we get told what happened during the game. Bad things indeed. How many people made a name for themselves by being added to the count? Let's find out and get to the What is that? Come over, Chelsea. Okay. So, why do you want to talk? It's simple. I know about your mistakes. Your bad things. Like what? Oh, you know. We both do. Okay, fine. I may have disobeyed several important, things. Yes, I may have misjudged on several occasions that ultimately led down a harmful path. I have habits I need to break. I've hurt people. I've hurt myself. I've pushed people away. I believe lies that they gave me an answer. Do I regret it? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I plan to apologize? Yes. I'm sorry for all of this. We don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. But do my mistakes make me bad? No, not at all. I just want to change for the better. Can we maybe work on that together? Dude, I just wanted to tell you that you miscounted Roblox Titanic Reimagined. Oh. Shit. Really? Yeah. Huh. We could still work on that stuff. Okay. Get to the numbers already. Okay. I was gonna do that before you interrupted me. I hope the next new movie isn't 2.5 hours long. 6 people died of bad things, only half of which happened in real life. They were all male, giving us this blue things chart. As for how many were at direct-ish control of the player, we had 4 of those, which includes the main 2 characters. The other 2, the farmer and Ivan's dad, happened in context separate from Ivan and his mind. And speaking of 6 kill parodies of all dudes, we say that happened only a single time, in the original Killer Bee short from 1996. Look how red he looks compared to that short's blueberry pie. Using the lengths of various playthroughs, including my own estimate, the game's mean length is 148 minutes long, which leaves us with a kill on average every 24.67 minutes. I'll give Amethyst Flamethrower to the Sailor. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in a Roblox game. The brutality, how drawn out it is, the beauty of the stars, and ultimately, how it's just Andrew to leave Ivan. It's narratively and visually a spectacular wonder, and definitely one of the best Roblox scenes ever. Broke a bit a little good to the testing noob, since it didn't have much of the terror the farmer or Andrew have, nor the impact that Ivan's dad and Ivan himself have on the story. It's an off-screen mind kill, and that's it. And like I already said, that's it. Bad Things was released back in March and finished sometime around August or so. It's a fantastic game, but sadly is very criminally underrated. So go play the game and form an opinion for yourself. And maybe tell others about it. I just want this game to have more eyes drawn on it. Next parody will be vastly different, and you'll see why when I tell you right now. It's Blockswatch by Oblivious HD. Until then, I'm Chelsea Rose, and this has been The Parody. Thanks a lot for watching this Bad Things parody. This was supposed to be the second consecutive scripted parody, but I decided to delay the Roblox Ragdoll Show Season 3. At least it's not a 6-hour season, lol. As you just heard me say, we're looking at Blockswatch next. It's the sequel to the comedic masterpiece The Last Guest, and I can't wait to cover it based on the script not written by me. There's also some other insane things in that movie, and I just can't wait to cover it. Like I already said. Why do I keep on repeating myself? Thanks for watching.